Hello, finance class. Welcome back to video number 2.1 on chapter 9. We're starting on page 1. I lost the page. What page are we starting on? You guys probably know. 191? Yeah, we're starting on page 191. Now, some of you are wondering, hey, why is the video up here? Why is it already halfway into the video? Why are we listening to Rachel speak? Well, because this is my this is the third time. That was the second time. This is my third time recording this video. Made a few mistakes. I may or may not have started the first video with some audio issues. I may or may not have started the second video with my microphone accidentally turned off. You know, things happen. It's okay. Let's get started. We're going to be talking about basic types of coverage, and the first section is going to be about auto coverage. So before we start this video, stuff that you should definitely know is the key terms found on page 186. Key terms on page 186. The ones that we're going to be talking about in this video are claim, coverage, deductible, liability, policy, premium. If you don't understand those terms, you should go back and read them. But then again, I'll probably also pause and explain them to you. So without further ado, let's get a move on.
Auto insurance. This liability is the best buy in the insurance world. It's very inexpensive, and a lot of people trying to cut corners will get like a 150 coverage on liability. Never do that. Always take at least 500 on your property, on your liability. When you're looking at these splits on these things, always take at least a 500. It's just a few dollars, literally pennies a month, pennies a year in some cases. Liability is the best buy in the insurance world, especially when it comes to auto situations. You could consider dropping your collision on older cars. I have not found that to be as true now as it used to be 20 years ago when I first started talking about this. Collision rates have gone down. And so again, you say, all right, I'm driving around a $6,000 car here. My collision is only $600. Well, that's 10 years that I'm taking the risk on that. Because collision is not if you tear up somebody else's car, fixes theirs. Collision is if you tear up your car, it fixes your car. And unless you've got enough cash to just write a check and buy a car, you can't drop the collision. But if you're sitting there with $50,000 or $60,000 cash, you could drop the collision. But I got to tell you, I'm in a financial position to write a check and replace my car, probably not even hardly notice as I do it, and I still carry collision. Because again, on a nicer car, it's a good value. It really ends up being a good value. So, but you can look at it and say, I'm going to look at maybe dropping the collision. I'm telling you, though, up front, I haven't dropped it on any of our stuff. And it's not because I'm crazy about insurance. I'm not. I just look at what I'm paying versus the risk I'm taking. Is it worth transferring that risk for those dollars? And in that case, I felt really good about it.
Okay. So let's talk about what he's talking about with the collision coverage. I mostly agree with Dave on this. 99% of the time, I will say, yeah, go ahead and get the collision coverage. And the reason why is because it doesn't only cover your car if it's totaled. If you just get into a fender bender, it can replace and fix some things on your car that don't necessarily total your car. For those of you who don't know what it means when your car gets totaled, it means there's damage to the frame of your car, and no one will fix that unless they change the title of your car as being what's called a dirty or a broken or a dirty or a salvage title. So it means that there's major damage to your car, and it's pretty much most people will just turn your car into scrap after that. So assuming your car is not totaled, having collision coverage is very, very good. Good example of this, the second car I had was an old beat up 98 Pontiac Grand Prix built in 1998. I think it was probably like a 12-year-old car when I got it. Sounds about right, yeah. And I bought it for about $3,000 or $3,500. I can't remember. It wasn't a lot of money, but I bought it cash for that small amount of money, and I didn't get collision coverage on it because I thought, this is an old beat up car anyway. If it gets totaled, I'll just buy another beat up car. Why am I going to pay extra for the couple thousand that they might give me? Because I was thinking the car isn't worth that much anyway. I didn't think about what happens if I just mess up the car and it's not totaled. So for example, there's one driveway I drove into where I accidentally jumped a curb, and it tore up my rear bumper, like almost ripped the whole thing off. if I had collision coverage, I would have been able to make a claim with my insurance, and they would have fixed the bumper for me. It just would have been part of my insurance claim. I would have paid a small deductible, and they would have fixed it. On the flip side, though, I, at the time, knew a bunch of mechanics, and I had a lot of free time. So what I ended up doing is I ended up getting a friend of mine to figure out how it was broken. We ordered some brackets to replace the broken brackets for the bumper, and then we spent a Saturday putting it back together. So I actually ended up saving money in that case. Now, some of you are thinking, like, Mr. Claiborne, you're being really confusing. You said get collision coverage, but you said that you didn't need it. Yeah, that was a rare scenario. If you've got the time and the know-how and the ability to learn how to fix things and to fix things, or someone that's there to teach you how to fix things, like your car, like a mechanic, then maybe you don't need collision coverage on a really old beat-up car that you can work on. If you don't have that time, which also costs money, if you don't have that expertise nearby that can help you, and if you're not the type of person that can turn a wrench and figure out how to fix something, in one day, you should get the collision coverage. It's worth it for you. So that's my 2 cents on that. 99% of the time, get the collision coverage. But sometimes you'll find yourself in that rare scenario where you've got the free time, you've got people who are around you willing to teach you, and that's a pretty good route to go too. When it comes to cars that cost more than about $3,000, if you get in the $5,000, $8,000, $10,000, $15,000 range, absolutely get collision coverage. It'll help you replace your car, so that way you can replace your car with something that's not a piece of junk. All right, let's continue the video.
Regardless, just
dollars. And in that case, I felt really good about it.
car insurance is one of those expenses you just can't get away from. Since you have to buy it regardless, we want to show you a few ways to keep your rates low. One option is to raise your deductible. This is the amount of money that you must pay to have your car fixed before insurance kicks in. If you've got a decent chunk of money set aside in your emergency fund, you may be able to afford a higher deductible. Then your monthly bill will be lower, and if you don't get into a wreck, your savings will be well worth it. Another option is to take and pass the driver's ed course. If you've already done that, talk with your insurance provider about available discounts and send them your certificate of completion. Lastly, you could simply stay on your parents' insurance for as long as possible and avoid filing claims for small repairs that you can pay cash for. Over time, these steps will save you money.
Homeowners coverage should be guaranteed replacement coverage.
Okay, before he starts talking about homeowners coverage, I'm going to stop talking about auto insurance for one last second. So when it comes to auto insurance, ways to reduce your cost. Your deductible, that's what you have to pay to get them to fix your car. So the insurance company will fix your car after you file a claim and pay your deductible. So you file a claim saying, hey, my car is busted because of XYZ. I got in a car accident. It got broken into. Somebody stole the rims off my car, whatever it was. Or, I hit an object. I didn't get into a car on car collision. I hit the concrete pole in front of the 7-Eleven. True story. Watched my sister do that one time. She just backed right into it. Anyways, but you call your insurance, say, hey, I'm filing a claim for you to fix my car, and they say, great, pay your deductible. Your deductible is what you pay for them to actually fix it, right? Your deductible is a set amount. You decide that amount when you pick your policy. Most people will say, oh, hey, we'll give you a $50 deductible or a $100 deductible. If your deductible is that low, they're raising the cost of your monthly insurance. That is what people with no emergency funds do. They haven't prepared for the future. They haven't saved for the rainy day. They have no emergency fund, so they pick the insurance with a low deductible of $0, $50, $100, and they end up paying for it every single month. Their insurance rate goes high. They pay a lot more every month for insurance. But since you do have an emergency fund, you can set your deductible as high as $500 when you first turn 18, because you've already got that $500 emergency fund. Or for me, my deductibles are set at $1,000. So as you get more and more money, having that deductible set higher, it drops your monthly payment. For example, like right now, let me double check. I got to look on my phone. My insurance, I've got all my insurance rolled into one. But my insurance covers my renting insurance, my high dollar item insurance, which is in addition to my renter's insurance for expensive things I have in my house. It also covers insurance on both of my cars. And how much do I pay for that every month? Where is it? Nope, that's not right. Hold on. I'm going to find it. I'm going to pause the video, then I'll find it for you so you guys can see the monthly amount that I pay for. Whoops. What? Oh, sorry. Something just popped up over my thing. Okay, found it. I wasn't sure if it started recording again. So this insurance covers both cars. So it covers 2 cars. It covers my renter's insurance, and it also covers a high dollar insurance for expensive stuff I have in my house, which is in addition to my renter's insurance. And it's $190 a month. Okay, because my deductibles are set high at about $1,000. If I were to drop my deductibles down to $500, $150, I think it goes up to like $250 or $300 a month. Okay, so having that emergency fund set away really helps lower your deductibles. Good thing to do, and that's a smart way of reducing your insurance. The other things that she was talking about, like getting your driver's ed plan, staying on your parents' plan, those are things to drop your insurance. The most important one is don't get a ticket. Don't speed. Don't drive crazy. One, that helps keep you alive, and 2, you don't get tickets. If you get tickets, your insurance rates go up. Starting out as a teenager, if you're a teenage boy with a car, you're probably looking at paying $150 a month just to insure you on one car. Why? Because no one trusts you. If you're a teenage girl, maybe $120 a month, because people still don't trust you, but not as bad as the teenage boys. No one trusts teenage boys with cars. If that's your case, then you better just you gotta pay into that those first few years. Don't get any tickets. Don't get in any car accidents, and your insurance will go down. Also, the type of car you have determines your insurance. So, if you're a teenage boy with a 2-door sports car, your insurance is going to be like $250 to $300 a month. And then if it's a red 2-door sports car, make it like $300 a month, maybe $350. Yes, the color of the car matters. Red cars, yellow cars, green cars, they cost more to insure than white, silver, black, or gray. That's why Mr. Claiborne drives boring colored cars. Boring colors cost less on insurance. Yeah. Also, the type of car, trucks, sports cars, they cost more. 4-door sedans, those are the cheapest cars to insure. So just some things that'll let you know about what's going to drive your insurance up and down. All right, let's go ahead and hear what they have to say about homeowners insurance and renters insurance.
Pay cash for. Over time, these steps will save you money.
Homeowners coverage should be guaranteed replacement cost. Circle the word guaranteed there. There's been a big shift in the insurance business with the last couple of hurricanes on this. Most of the majors, most of the name brand homeowners companies have gone away from guaranteed replacement cost. 10, 15 years ago, guaranteed replacement cost was standard with everybody, and hardly any of them carry it now. Guaranteed replacement cost is this. If you take out a $200,000 policy on your $200,000 house, you go along 5 years and the house is now worth $350,000, and you never updated your insurance agent never called you, you never said anything, it covers the whole house. You bought $200,000 worth of coverage, but it covers $350,000. It replaces the house, even if you don't raise the amounts. That's guaranteed replacement cost, and that's the way all homeowners used to be written. And again, hardly anyone writes it that way anymore. Instead, they do what's called extended replacement cost. And what they'll do is they'll take that $200,000 policy and they will extend the coverage only 10% out or 20% out. And so if they extend a $200,000 policy 20% out, that means that house could go up to $240,000 and you never touch your insurance and you're covered. But if that house goes to $350,000 and it burns and you have a $200,000 policy with a 20% kicker on it, then you are going to be short about $110,000 to put that house back together. And you've got a mess on your hands. And
Okay, so what he's talking about, why in the world would insurance companies do this? Well, a couple of things happened in the early 2000s, especially in California. In the early 2000s, we had a string of wildfires. I think the biggest one was called the Cedar Fire. That was around 2005 or 2006. Burned thousands of homes in Southern California. I think maybe 500 or 600 in San Diego County alone. And so the reason why they started cutting that coverage is because an insurance company is a business. They insure people by pretty much making everyone understand, well, not understand, but everyone's afraid of losing their home. Everyone's afraid of their home burning down. The insurance company knows this. The insurance company knows not everyone can pay for their home burning down. So they go to everyone and they say, hey, give me $100 a month, and if your home burns down, I will replace your home, right? So normally when that happens, the insurance company goes to 100 people. They get their $100 a month. Well, it's more than 100 for a home, but you get the idea. They get their amount of money a month from 100 people. Throughout their lifetime, of those 100 people, maybe 7 or 8 will have their house destroyed, and the insurance company will have to pay back 7 or 8 of them. When you have a huge natural disaster like a hurricane or a wildfire, they don't pay back 7 or 8 of them. They usually end up paying about 50 of them or 60 of them. Or in San Diego County, it was hundreds of people all insured by 2 or 3 companies. So you had a ton of people calling in that insurance saying, hey, we need to replace our home. And the insurance companies lost a ton of money. The other thing that happened in the early 2000s is the housing market crashed, and houses, their prices went up almost twice as much. Yeah, no, actually, I want to say twice as much, because I remember my parents, they bought a house in the year 2000. They bought a house for, I want to say it was $230,000. $230,000. They bought that house in the year 2000. By 2010, that house was now worth about $460,000. Today, I think it's worth about $560,000. That is a lot of money to double in cost. So when an insurance company charges you for home insurance on a $230,000 house, and then in 10 years that house doubles in price, and then it gets destroyed in a fire, the insurance company has just lost a ton of money. So that's part of why they don't have those policies anymore. It's to make sure they can still stay in business. So that's why that is. You just have to read the fine print when you get your insurance policy, and also pay attention to the market value of your house or expensive things like that. You know, if you have property and the value is going up or down, you need to update that insurance policy regularly. Okay, well, it looks like I'm dragging a 10-minute video out to about 20, so I'll go ahead and stop talking and let Dave finish the lecture.
Was that people weren't coming back in and upping their insurance. Now, a lot of the insurance agents are mad at me because I bring this up, and they say, well, Dave, it's our job to come in and increase the coverage. And I said, yeah, but it's my job to protect the consumer. I'm sitting there with a paid-for, nice house in a market that is escalating and then sometimes gets a little soft and escalates other times, and I don't want to have to sit down once a year and run a dad-blame appraisal on my house just to make sure your insurance that I'm paying you for is covering me. So I want guaranteed replacement cost, not extended replacement cost. My point is to protect you so you know what you've got. If you're going to carry the extended replacement cost, you got to update it once a year. You got to make sure that your coverage is enough to replace your house. So you have to stay very involved and very plugged in.
If you're going to move out and get your first apartment, you need to have renter's insurance. Renter's insurance covers the contents of the renter's apartment. And so if you have a fire and your furniture, your stereo, your clothes, that kind of stuff gets burned up, it replaces your stuff inside the apartment for fire. It also replaces it for theft. And with a $250 deductible, literally $10, $15 a month, you can buy renter's insurance. Never be without renter's insurance, ever, when you're renting an apartment or renting a house.
Okay, last thing I'm going to say. Last thing, I promise, last thing. So the renter insurance thing, remember I was telling you guys I have renter's insurance, and I also have a high value item insurance. The way that works is the renter's insurance covers all the contents of my house. However, the fine print on most renter's insurance policies say that they will only cover jewelry or electronics up to a certain amount of money, or jewelry and other expensive items you may have. They'll only cover them up to maybe like $2,000 or $3,000. Okay. Well, my wife's wedding ring and her engagement ring, I think, is like $3,500 on its own. So that maxes out at the renter's insurance. So there's a fire at our house in the middle of the night, and we just run out of the house, and my wife's wedding ring gets burned up in the fire. Then I can't really replace that. Well, I can replace that, but I can't replace any of her other jewelry or any of the other expensive things in my house. So that's why I have an additional high dollar or high value item insurance policy that covers jewelry and various other items in my house up to, I think, $20,000 or $25,000. I can't remember. But if you have valuable things that are just not replaceable, that fall under that high value item insurance, you can get an additional policy on top of your renter's insurance to cover things like that. Okay, that's it. I'm done. I promise. We're going to let Dave speak now, and then we'll be done with this video. There's just a lot of stuff to talk about with insurance.
$15 a month you can buy renter's insurance. Never be without renter's insurance, ever, when you're renting an apartment or renting a house.
Umbrella policies are a really good idea. An umbrella liability policy picks up where your homeowner's or your auto insurance liability leaves off. So if you carry $500,000, you get in a bad wreck and it's your fault and somebody sues you for more, then the insurance company is going to pay $500,000. After that, if they sue you for another $1 million, it's got to come from you. They're going to bankrupt you, is what they're going to do. But you can get an umbrella that goes over the top of your homeowners and your car and attaches to those $500,000 limits, picks up from there and goes on. And so you can buy an extra $1 million in liability if you're starting to get some assets. If you're starting to really build up your 401k, you got some equity in your house, you're making some good money, you're starting to build some assets, you need to get an umbrella policy. You can buy an extra $1 million of liability in umbrella for around a couple of $100 a year. So it's a deal. It's a really good deal. I carry a $10 million umbrella because I've got a little bit of a fear of the Dave Ramsey factor. You know, I bump into somebody in the car and they go, oh, it's no big deal. And I hand them my license. They go, Dave Ramsey, oh.
It may seem like a waste of money to pay for renter's insurance when you're in college, but it's an absolute must. Yes, I understand you may not have the nicest furniture, TV, or laptop right now, but if something happens, trust me, you'll be glad you have insurance. And if it wouldn't take a lot of money to replace your stuff, that just means your insurance will be cheap. Most universities will cover the cost of a natural disaster or fire in your dorm. So renter's insurance may not be necessary if you live on campus. But if you live in a house or an apartment, please get renter's insurance. By the time something bad happens, it's too late to wish you had it.
All right, that's it for this video. I already told you guys some ways you can save on car insurance. Make sure you got all the things written in, and I'll see you in the next video for section 2.2.